Whenever I'm asked about what my opinion of chiropractors is, I always tell this story. Back in 1973, I was 23 years old and I was driving down the highway. There was 4 inches of snow on the ground. It was a 2-lane highway with no shoulders. The guy coming at me in the opposing lane lost control. He swerved. I thought he would straighten out. He didn't. He kept on swerving sideways into my lane. I tried to slow down and I turned to avoid him, and I went down about a 6-foot embankment, which was over top a railroad track, which was over top the Mississippi River, but fortunately, I only went 6 inches into a flat spot. There were no blood and guts. Both cars were totaled. His was brand new. Mine was 10 years old. He had never driven in snow before. He got the ticket for failing to keep his vehicle in control. No blood or guts, but the next day my neck was killing me, so I decided to go to a chiropractor. Never been to one before. My brother always said they were quacks, and I didn't know any. I just looked in the phone book and found this guy named Featherstone, and I was across the river, the Mississippi River from Winona, Minnesota, and it was an old building, and he was an old guy, and all his stuff was old, and he didn't have a receptionist. He just answered the phone himself, and I was the only person in the room. And he felt my back and said, "Hurts there, doesn't it?" He touched another place and said, "Hurts there, doesn't it?" I'm going, "Yeah." Touched another place. "Hurts there, doesn't it?" I go, "Yeah." And I had had back trouble probably all my life, which was aggravated a little bit more because I got my first horse when I was 21 and I was riding it every day. And no matter what the weather, there was an indoor riding stable where I actually had a little apartment in the barn where I paid $70 to share an apartment inside the riding stable barn. And it was costing me more than that for my horse. Priorities. But anyway, my back had always bothered me a little bit, but nothing debilitating or anything like that. Anyway, he put me under ultrasound. I had no idea even what ultrasound was. It was warm and soothing. It actually ultrasound relaxes muscles so you can get a better adjustment. And then he twisted me this way like a pretzel and twisted me that way like a pretzel. He spent about 15 minutes on the ultrasound, by the way, before he even started adjusting me. Then he took my head and I felt like I was in The Exorcist or something like that. And when he got done, I would have paid him anything if I could. And he charged $6, which was cheap even then. And I told that to a friend of mine, and she was going to a chiropractor every single week. And my body felt so good when he was done. There were places that stopped hurting that I didn't even know hurt till they stopped hurting. And when I look back on it, I have no idea how this guy made a living. 3 months after that, I fell off my horse, landed on my shoulder. He said, "What happened to you?" And he adjusted it all over again. And so my first taste of chiropractic was absolutely fantastic. And he's the best chiropractor I've ever been to. I've been to quite a number since. Most chiropractors will crack your back cold. And by cold, I don't mean put ice on. I mean they just don't do anything or very little to warm your back up first. They don't use ultrasound or massage or heat. Mostly they don't do that. Some do. But anyway, my opinion is that if the muscles aren't warmed up or loosened up before you do an adjustment, that if your vertebrae are out of alignment, the muscles around them begin to think that's normal. So that if you just adjust the back, the muscles around there are going to be tight. And the muscles will try to pull it back to where they're used to. Where if they're loosened up first, whether by massage or ultrasound or whatever, then the muscles don't care. They're all loose. They're not going to try and pull it back. So I think the adjustment will last longer and do better. Also, I've heard of people, they're getting adjustments 3 times a week or once a week every every week of the year, which is way, in my opinion, too many, especially if they're not having any particular problems. They're just getting it that much because ligaments are what attach bone to bone. And if you keep on pushing them around, those ligaments are going to loosen up, which means you're more prone to being out of alignment easier because you're being adjusted so much. My opinion, but it's not just my opinion. There are actually other chiropractors who believe the same thing, as well as a lot of non-chiropractors as well.